I can announce that we will shortly be consulting on the way that houses in multiple occupation are valued for council tax purposes. The consultation, to be launched by January, will look at situations where individual tenants can, in certain circumstances, be landed with their own council tax bills and consider whether the valuation process needs to change. Our clear intention is for HMOs to be classed as single dwellings, other than in exceptional circumstances. I will give way. Now, on this, if regulations are required, this would allow for them to be in place before this bill reaches royal assent. And I'd like to thank the members for Gosport and Portsmouth North for their campaign to highlight this issue, which I know also affects other MPs. And the Secretary of State and I look forward to meeting their local businessman, Mr Brewer, in the coming days.
Thank you very much, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise to speak on new clause 7, which is tabled in my name, and I'd like to start by thanking members from across the House for supporting it, and particularly to the Minister for listening to my pleas. In short, Mr Speaker, this new clause is intended to prevent the imposition of council tax on individual tenants of a room in a house with shared facilities or in a licensed house of multiple occupancy. This issue came to light in my own Gosport constituency, where the High Street, like so many others up and down the country, is in decline. A local businessman, Darren Brewer, identified an opportunity to breathe new life into our high streets and at the same time create affordable accommodation for young professionals. He is doing this by buying up the empty disused shops, redeveloping them, bringing in local independent traders into the shop space while converting the spaces above into high-quality shared living accommodation. The residents have high-spec individual ensuite bedrooms, but shared kitchen, laundry and workspaces. They're effectively professional houses of multiple occupation and are known as propods. This, Mr Deputy Speaker, is levelling up in its most pure form. It's reimagining our high streets as places where we don't just shop, where we live, where we work, where we socialise and where we spend our time. At a stroke, it makes low-cost, high-quality, affordable living accommodation and take some of the strain off of the housing market. Now, generally speaking, HMOs are in band C or D for council tax and therefore classed as one dwelling, meaning the landlord is legally responsible for paying the council tax for that single dwelling. However, over in recent years, there's been a growing trend of the Valuation Office Agency starting to reband these bedrooms as individual dwellings in and of themselves, meaning residents across Gosport and Portsmouth and increasingly across the whole country are being hit with unexpected and completely unaffordable council tax bills. Now, the VOA have stated it is not taking a new approach to HMOs, nor is it systematically revaluing HMOs. However, Mr Deputy Speaker, this is a growing issue, one that my right honourable friend, the member for Portsmouth North, and I have brought to the attention of successive ministers over the last couple of years, and one that increasingly colleagues across the House are seeing amongst their local landlords and developers. The evidence for this is the number of members who are backing this new clause. And there are several reasons why this poses a problem. First and foremost, of course, this is placing a huge financial strain on people, often young professionals, at the very start of their careers, suddenly landed with a council tax bill of up to £1,000, even once they've allocated the single person discount. In some cases, this is even backdated 3 years, so it could be bills of up to £3,000. You can imagine how this is causing untold distress and misery, especially at a time where other living costs are rising. Now, there have even been incidents of previous tenants being chased for these council tax bills that they didn't know they owed after they'd moved out of these buildings due to reclassifying and backdating. This is a dreadful situation, Mr Deputy Speaker. Now, of course, shared housing is a core pillar of the housing sector. In 2018, HMOs provided up to 3 million sharers with rental accommodation across England and Wales. It's a significant contribution to the housing sector, so this has the potential to become a major problem. If these bedrooms start to be classified as dwellings and become Band A, where the tenant tenant is legally liable for paying the council tax, goodness knows where it will end. But there are other knock-on impacts of this trend that I want to just put on the record very briefly today. Disaggregation creates individual units which are usually not self-contained. Now, once disaggregated, there is nothing to stop a landlord putting cooking facilities in these places retrospectively, thus creating miniature flats. These do not meet housing standards or create quality living environments, Mr. Deputy Speaker. We also have the issue of housing numbers. Bedrooms within HMOs that are rebanded then create a dwelling within law. This means these bedrooms are added to the UK housing numbers, even though they do not meet minimum national space standards and they are not self-contained. Unwittingly, Mr. Deputy Speaker, the VOA, local authorities and therefore ultimately the government would be fudging the housing numbers. For each bedroom that is rebanded by the VOA as a dwelling, local authorities can claim on the New Homes Bonus Scheme. This suggests the government could be awarding these bonuses to local authorities without proper homes being created through the usual planning process. Now, if this continues and bedrooms keep being rebanded, this government could be seen to be encouraging the creation of dwellings which simply do not meet national space standards. And so unless they grip this growing issue, they are potentially creating substandard rental properties which would contradict both the Renters Reform Bill and the Decent Homes White Paper. Mr. Deputy Speaker, this bill, this Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill we're talking about today, is fundamentally about levelling up our wonderful country. By not addressing this issue, we are doing a disservice to our constituents, many of whom are young strivers simply trying to build their careers and make their way in life, now unexpectedly hit with an extra financial strain that they haven't budgeted for, that they certainly don't deserve, and at a time they can least afford it. I deeply regret, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that I had to table an amendment to this bill in order to put a stop to this. I have frequently raised this issue with relevant government departments in the past, but it has fallen on deaf ears. It has led me to fear, up until this point, Mr. Deputy Speaker, that some people working in this area may have forgotten that council tax is a property tax. It is not a head tax, and it should not be down to individuals who are paying simply for a bedroom to foot this bill. Now, that's why I'm so deeply grateful to the Minister and to the Secretary of State for engaging with me so brilliantly on this and so openly on this, and now for confirming that they will take an accelerated consultation on this issue with a view to potentially bringing forward the relevant regulations to prevent this happening in the future and to address it. Now, this will need to cover how we deal with the sites that have already been revalued and the bills that have already been issued and the arrears that have already been incurred, Mr. Deputy Speaker. So it's not straightforward, but I'm very grateful that the Honourable Lady has set out that she does have a commitment to address it. I have no doubt that she does. I know that she cares deeply about levelling up, and she's an excellent minister, and I know that she wants to seize this once in a generation opportunity to get this bill right and to get this issue right. And so I thank her for her commitment today. I will not be pushing this to a vote, and I look forward to working with her to make sure that we solve this issue once and for all.
MLO Park.